The dining room was perfect. Candles flickered across wine glasses, steak rested on warm plates, white linen napkins pressed and folded. Our wedding song played softly in the background. 8 years together deserved something special. I'd even tucked a letter under her plate. 7:42 p.m. She was late. 30 minutes wasn't unusual. She worked downtown, trains ran behind, bosses caught you on the way out. I tried not to worry. 9:11 p.m. No answer when I called. 10:06 p.m. Straight to voicemail. By 11:30, worry had turned to anger. The candles were half melted, the wine warm, my jaw clenched tight. 3:06 a.m. The door finally opened. Sarah stumbled in like she'd forgotten where she lived, makeup smeared, coat barely hanging on, eyes glassy and red. "Oh, hey," she mumbled casually. "Hey." My voice cracked. "It's 3:00 in the morning." She waved dismissively, wobbling past me. "James, don't be dramatic. Dramatic. You disappeared on our anniversary. I cooked, I waited. You didn't call, didn't text. That's not dramatic, Sarah. That's basic human decency." She slumped down, pulling off her heels. I went out with the girls, lost track of time. You knew today would be hectic. Hectic. This was the one night I asked for. I gestured to the untouched table. "You don't even remember, do you?" She squinted at the candles, then rolled her eyes. "Of course I remember. I just needed a break. A break from what? From me." I stepped forward. "From your husband who's been holding this marriage together while you vanish and come home smelling like gin and perfume." She laughed dryly, heading for the stairs. "You're being ridiculous. Look at me and say that." I snapped. She stopped, one foot on the first stair, then turned slowly. Her gaze didn't waver. "I didn't ask you to cook dinner. I didn't ask for candles or wine like we're in some Hallmark movie." I stared at her, stunned. "You didn't ask. I thought I was your husband. I thought trying mattered." "It's just one night, James. You act like I killed someone." "No," I said, each word clipped. "You didn't kill someone, but you killed something, and I'm not sure you even care." She looked away and went upstairs without another word. No apology, no explanation. Just the soft hum of our song still playing and candles burning out. I walked back to the table, lifted the letter I'd written still sealed, and blew out the last candle. If this was the kind of love she thought I deserved, I wasn't sure what I was still holding on to. The next morning, the kitchen felt like a stage after the curtain dropped quiet, too clean. The wall clock's ticking sounded judgmental. I was already up, showered, dressed after maybe 2 hours of sleep. I needed to move, so I made coffee, washed dishes that weren't dirty, checked work emails 3 times even though it was Sunday. She walked in around 9:00 a.m., wearing one of my old college sweatshirts, hair pulled back messily, no makeup, eyes puffy. "Morning," she said barely audibly. I poured 2 cups of coffee without answering, then slid hers across the island. When I finally looked at her, she seemed unsure, like she didn't know who I was this morning. Maybe that was fair. I didn't either. "You don't have to explain everything," I said calmly, "but you need to hear this." She nodded slowly, hands wrapped tightly around the mug, fingers pale. I leaned against the counter, arms crossed, keeping my voice level. "I'm not going to scream or throw things, but last night, that doesn't happen again. No call, no message, no care. I'm not built for that kind of silence." Her throat bobbed as she swallowed. "If that happens again," I said clearly, "I won't be here when you come home." The words hung between us, not loud, but sharp. Her voice cracked. She took a shaky breath. "I didn't mean to hurt you, James. I didn't realize how late it was. I know that sounds stupid." I didn't respond, just let her talk. "I had too much to drink. Monica kept ordering rounds, and I didn't want to seem uptight." I raised an eyebrow. "So your fear of seeming uptight outweighed our anniversary?" She flinched hard, hands trembling as she reached for a napkin. "I messed up, I know that, and I'm sorry, truly." I didn't let her off the hook. I wanted her to sit with the weight of it, not run from it. "You could have just called me," I said quieter now. "That's all it would have taken. A 5-second voicemail, even a text. I know." She sat down, almost folding in on herself, eyes not meeting mine. I swear I didn't think. "Then it's time to start thinking, Sarah." She looked up now, really looked at me. "I don't want to lose you. Something in her voice cracked open, vulnerable, raw, not rehearsed. You already are, I replied. Bit by bit, that made her break. She pressed the heel of her hand to her eyes, trying to stop the tears. I took a sip of coffee and walked to the sink, my back to her. My own hands were shaking slightly, but I couldn't show it. I couldn't be the one doing the emotional lifting anymore. Behind me, I heard her exhale slowly, the kind of breath you take when you're trying to get control over something slipping through your fingers. Please don't give up on me, she said. I turned around. I'm not giving up, but I'm also not going to pretend everything's fine. This isn't about one night, Sarah. It's about the gap that keeps growing between us and how you keep acting like it's nothing. She bit her lip hard, nodded once. I'll do better, she whispered. I grabbed my keys off the hook. I'm going for a drive. I just need some air, James. I walked out, not in anger, just in preservation. By Monday morning, things felt corrected, not repaired, not healed, just adjusted. Like furniture pushed back into place after a storm. I came downstairs to the smell of bacon. Sarah stood at the stove in leggings and a soft hoodie, flipping pancakes. Morning, she said with a practiced smile. I gave a simple nod. Morning. She slid a plate in front of me. Extra crispy, just how you like it. I didn't say thank you. It didn't feel like gratitude fit the moment. There was an artificial glow in the room, like a hotel lobby trying to feel like home. That first day turned into a pattern. Tuesday, she packed my lunch without asking. Wednesday, she folded all the laundry and paired my socks. Thursday, she sent a midday text, thinking of you. Hope work's not too crazy today, read. I stared at that heart emoji for a long time. It looked like an apology written in pixels. I didn't reply, and even that silence felt like a betrayal somehow. The house stayed eerily clean all week. Our modern suburban dream outside Chicago had never looked so pristine. Yet every night when I came home, it felt like walking into a showroom. She'd greet me with a soft hey, offer me a plate, ask about my day with perfect civility. That was the worst part. It was all too perfect. No arguments, no eye rolls, no tension, just suffocating politeness. Politeness is for strangers, for neighbors, for baristas, not for the person you share a bed with. Thursday evening, I came in and saw her on the couch, feet tucked under her, scrolling her phone. Hey, I said. She looked up, smiled like she was auditioning for a toothpaste commercial. Hi, dinner's in the oven. I sat beside her. She didn't scoot closer. I didn't reach for her hand. After a minute, how was your day? She blinked, surprised I asked. Fine, got groceries, did some laundry, cleaned out the closet upstairs. That's a lot. I had time. Silence settled. I watched her thumb move across her phone. Smooth, robotic, then it hit me. This wasn't connection. This was performance. Every gesture was the equivalent of a nervous student trying to pass a pop quiz. Smile, cook, fold. Text, repeat, and it was working, at least on the surface. From the outside, we looked like the picture of reconciliation. But I saw the truth in her eyes. She never looked directly at me unless I spoke first. Her voice was always soft, too soft, like she was trying not to disturb something delicate. And she never asked me how I was feeling. I'd become an audience to her guilt, and she was praying for applause. By Friday night, we sat across from each other, quietly chewing grilled chicken. She was talking about switching laundry detergents because the old one made her skin itch, and I realized I hadn't heard her laugh in 5 days. Sarah, I said, cutting her off mid-sentence. She looked up, startled. Yeah. I hesitated. Are you okay? She blinked fast. Of course, why? You just seem like you're trying too hard. Her jaw tightened for a second. I'm just trying to make things better. I can see that. But making things better doesn't mean pretending we're okay when we're not. She looked away. Would you rather I do nothing? No. I'd rather you be honest. She nodded slowly. I'm trying, James. I really am. I believed she wanted to mean that, but wanting and doing were miles apart. We finished dinner in silence. When we went to bed that night, we lay on opposite sides of the mattress, both staring at the ceiling like strangers who happened to rent the same space. Saturday afternoon, we were at Adam and Karen's annual summer barbecue. Folding chairs circled the fire pit, coolers lined the patio, grilled ribs scented the air. It should have felt relaxing, but everything between us was wrapped in static. Sarah looked amazing, tan, breezy sundress, hair done the way I used to love. Yet not once did she take my hand, not once did she lean into me. We mingled like coworkers forced to share the same shift. I tried to play it cool. I wasn't going to drag our problems into someone else's yard. I was polite, talked with the guys, helped flip burgers. But every now and then, I'd glance at her across the lawn, and she'd already be looking away. About an hour in, we were standing near the patio, just the two of us for once, listening to Karen tell some long vacation story. The sun caught in Sarah's hair, and without thinking, I gently rested my hand on her shoulder. Light, familiar. She flinched, then, louder than expected, snapped, "I'm not your toy. Don't touch me." Karen went silent. I pulled my hand back slowly, didn't realize that was off limits now. Sarah glared like she wanted me to feel embarrassed. I did, but not for the reason she thought. That's when Monica appeared. Monica was Sarah's friend from work, tall, always perfectly put together, the kind of woman who knew exactly how to make her presence felt. She slid beside me, drink in hand, smiling. She leaned in and whispered just loud enough for Sarah to hear, "But I'm always up for a little fun." Sarah's head snapped around so fast I thought she'd pulled something. "What did she just say to you?" she hissed, cheeks flushed. I smiled, took a sip of my drink. "Nothing important. Don't lie to me." "I'm not. You wouldn't believe it anyway. You think this is funny. You're flirting with my friend at a barbecue." I stayed calm. "You told me not to touch you, remember?" She stared at me like she didn't recognize who I was anymore. "Let's go, we're leaving." I shrugged. "You can, I'm staying." She blinked. "Are you serious?" "I came here to unwind. You want to go home angry, that's your call." People around us had started to notice. A few eyes darted away, pretending not to listen. Sarah looked from me to Monica, who raised her eyebrows, amused, then back to me. "You're unbelievable," she spat. Then she turned and stormed through the side gate, heels clicking hard against concrete. I didn't follow. I just stood there, finished my drink, and let the quiet tension settle around me like a heavy coat. But deep down, part of me finally felt honest, because she was right about one thing. I wasn't her toy. Not anymore. The sound of her heels hitting the floor echoed through the living room before I even looked up. Sarah slammed the front door behind her, tossed her purse on the entryway table, and marched in like she was prepping for a courtroom cross-examination. I stayed seated on the couch, nursing a glass of water, the TV humming low with a baseball recap. I wasn't really watching. "You embarrassed me," she said. I didn't answer right away. I muted the screen and turned to face her. "You stood there letting Monica throw herself at you, and you didn't even shut it down." I met her eyes calmly. "I didn't do anything, Sarah. You're mad about something that didn't even happen. You let her flirt with you," she snapped, hands on her hips. Right in front of everyone, I set the glass on the coffee table. "And what about earlier when I touched your shoulder and you said I'm not your toy in front of our friends?" She hesitated, caught off guard. "That was different. You know, I don't like being touched like that in public." I raised an eyebrow. "Since when?" She crossed her arms. "Since it makes me uncomfortable." "Right. But flirting with Monica is somehow worse than you rejecting me in front of everyone like I was nothing." She rolled her eyes. "You're twisting things now." "No," I said, voice steady. "I'm just seeing them clearly." She paced, biting her thumbnail, something she hadn't done in years. "You're enjoying this, watching me squirm." "I'm not, but I'm tired of pretending your behavior doesn't mean anything." Her jaw clenched. "I'm trying, James. I've been trying all week, and now one stupid moment, and you're ready to write me off." I leaned forward. "Trying isn't the same as being real. All week you've been acting like a stranger wearing your face, making breakfast, smiling too hard, texting like we're in a brochure. But the second anything feels real, like my hand on your shoulder, you shut down." She stared at me, eyes unblinking. "I didn't mean to make you feel small." I panicked. I didn't know Monica was going to say that. "I'm not blaming Monica. I'm blaming the fact that I can't tell where I stand with you anymore. I try to show you something real and you brush me off, but when someone else shows interest, now I'm the problem. She didn't have a quick answer, just stood there breathing heavy, lips parted like she wanted to say something but couldn't get the words out. You can't have it both ways, Sarah, I said softly. You don't get to push me away in private and then claim me in public just because it's convenient. Her hands slowly dropped to her sides. So what now? You want me to just admit I've been awful? No, I want you to be honest with yourself because I think you're scared of what that honesty might mean. She turned away, walking slowly to the hallway like the conversation had drained her. I'll sleep in the guest room tonight, she mumbled. I didn't stop her. The door shut softly behind her. For a long time, I just sat there staring at the blank TV screen. We were still under the same roof, but whatever held us together was thinning fast. It was cloudy that afternoon, the kind of gray sky that didn't pour rain but still made the world feel heavy. I sat outside a little cafe near Lincoln Park, nursing a lukewarm coffee while traffic hummed behind me. The kind of spot Sarah and I used to come to when we were still figuring each other out. Monica arrived right on time. Oversized sunglasses, denim jacket, heels clicking confidently on the pavement. Thanks for meeting me, she said, sliding into the chair across from me. I nodded, wasn't sure I would. She took off her glasses slowly and gave me that signature smile, part charm, part mischief. I figured you'd be curious. I sipped my coffee, this about the barbecue. She tilted her head, partly, mostly it's about Sarah. I didn't respond. She leaned in, voice softer now. Look, I'm not blind. I know things between you two are cracked, but I also know Sarah, and she's not a bad person, James. She's just lost. Lost people don't throw knives when someone tries to help, I muttered. She's scared, Monica said gently. And yeah, she's defensive and stubborn, but she's not cruel, not deep down. You think she's throwing everything away on purpose. I paused. I think she doesn't know what she wants, and I'm tired of being the thing she tests to figure it out. Monica winced like it struck her more than she expected. She's been unraveling for a while. I thought maybe if she saw someone else interested in you, it would make her wake up, see what she stands to lose. I leaned back, surprised. So that comment at the barbecue, that was intentional. She gave me a small, sheepish smile. Half intentional, I wanted to rattle her. You've been too patient, James. Sometimes people only realize what they've got when it's slipping. I stared at her, not angry, just disappointed. So you used me to teach her a lesson. It wasn't like that. Sure it was. She looked away. I was trying to help. You made things worse. I know, she said quietly. We sat in silence for a few beats. The wind picked up and stirred the napkins on the table. Monica tucked her hair behind one ear. I'm not telling you to stay, she said. I'm just saying don't make a permanent decision based on her worst moment. People aren't just their worst moments. And what if those worst moments keep repeating? I asked. At what point do they stop being exceptions and start being patterns? She didn't have an answer. I stood, slipping my keys into my pocket. I appreciate you reaching out. I do. But I'm not the same guy I was a month ago. I can't just wait and see anymore. Monica stood too, her eyes softer now. If she loses you, it'll break her. Then maybe she should have thought about that before she started treating me like furniture. She didn't stop me as I walked away. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel conflicted. I just felt quiet, deep, unshakable quiet. The kind that usually comes before something breaks. For the next 3 weeks, I gave everything I had left. I brought home fresh flowers every other day, sunflowers, tulips, roses. I remembered her favorites, the ones she used to light up over when we first moved in. I tried surprises again, dinner downtown, movie nights. I bought tickets to a local jazz quartet she used to mention in passing, just to see if it would pull something real from her. And she said thank you every time, smiled, accepted it all, but there was nothing behind her eyes. She kissed me on the cheek when I handed her a bouquet, murmured soft appreciation when I fixed the leaky faucet in the bathroom. Let me cook her dinner without complaint. But every conversation felt like filling out a form. How was your day? Fine. Yours? Not bad. Ran errands. Got that refund from the insurance. Oh, good. Then silence. She never asked me why I was trying so hard. She never told me she missed me. She never touched my arm while I stirred the pasta or reached for my hand during the movie. It was all polite, and that's what cut deepest. Politeness is for strangers, for neighbors, for baristas, not for the person you share a bed with. One night, I stayed up late in the kitchen scrolling through a recipe for a dish I knew she used to love, chicken piccata with lemon and capers. I even went to 3 different stores to find fresh thyme. She barely touched it. "It's good," she said quietly, pushing the food around her plate. "You barely ate. I'm just not that hungry tonight," I nodded, staring at my untouched wine glass. "Is it the food or is it me?" She looked up, startled. "What? I need to know, is this working for you, any of it?" She hesitated, then looked down at her plate. "I'm trying. That's not an answer." She exhaled slowly. "I don't know what to say, James. You're being kind, thoughtful. I see that. But you don't feel it?" I said, finishing the sentence for her. She didn't deny it. The next day, I came home to find the flowers I'd left in the vase by the stairs wilting. She hadn't changed the water. The petals were curling brown at the edges. That's when it hit me. I'd been the only one watering anything. The house had gone quiet in a way that didn't feel like peace. It felt like absence, like ghosts moving around furniture no one cared about anymore. We used to laugh, we used to fight too, but even that had passion. Now we just coexisted like coworkers clocking in and out of a shift we never applied for. I tried one more thing, a handwritten note. Just a simple message I left on her nightstand, and one morning before leaving for work. "You once told me I made you feel safe. Do you still feel that, or am I just another wall you lean on when everything else collapses?" That night I checked the nightstand. The note was gone, but she never mentioned it. Never brought it up, never said a word, and I didn't ask, because deep down I already knew her answer. It was a Saturday afternoon, my birthday. The house smelled like spice cake, my mother's old recipe I'd made myself because I wasn't sure anyone else would. A few balloons clung to the corners of the dining room, just enough effort to make the silence feel a little more decorated. I didn't expect a party. I didn't even expect a card. But I had told Sarah earlier in the week that I'd be home that day. By 3:00 p.m., the house was still quiet. At 3:12, there was a knock at the door. It was Monica. She stood there in dark jeans, a casual blouse, holding a small gift bag and a smile that didn't try too hard. "Happy birthday," she said, her voice soft. I stepped aside, letting her in. "Thanks, you're the first." She laughed once, but it faded fast. Didn't want the day to go by unnoticed. We sat at the kitchen table. She set the gift bag in front of me. It was a small leather journal with my name embossed on the front in gold. "I figured you needed a place to put everything," she said. "Somewhere that isn't someone else's expectations." I ran my thumb across the soft edge of it. "This is thoughtful, thank you." We talked about neutral things: work, the weather, a new cafe she found near Wicker Park. She didn't try to push, didn't ask how things were with Sarah. Maybe she already knew. Then at 3:34, the front door swung open. Sarah stepped in fast, heels clicking on the hard wood like accusations. The moment her eyes landed on Monica, her expression snapped. "You've got to be kidding me." Monica stood. "Sarah, no, don't Sarah me. What are you doing here?" I stayed seated, my voice steady. "She brought a gift." Sarah turned on me. "On your birthday?" "Yes," because she remembered. Her eyes narrowed, jaw clenching so hard I could see the muscle twitch in her cheek. "Kick her out right now." "Why? She doesn't belong here. You know what she's trying to do. She hasn't done anything but show up when you didn't. That did it." Her face flushed, voice rising. "She's been interfering for months, whispering in your ear, turning you against me." "No," I said firmly. "She's been trying to protect you, even when you didn't deserve it." Sarah looked like she'd been slapped. "You're defending her now." "I'm not defending anyone. I'm just tired of pretending every problem is someone else's fault." The room held its breath. Monica took a slow step back. "Maybe I should go." Sarah's eyes never left me. "Yes, you should." I kept my voice even. I'm not up for company, but if you'd rather not drive, the guest room's open. I need the house quiet. Monica gave me a small, grateful nod. I'll stay out of the way. She slipped down the hall toward the guest room. Sarah stood in the center of the room, breathing hard, fists at her sides. I expected her to scream, to throw something. Instead, she turned on her heel and marched straight down the hall, slamming the bedroom door behind her. I looked at the cake, still untouched, the candles still in the drawer. By sunset, the house was too quiet for a birthday. I had turned on some music low, forgettable jazz, and poured myself a drink, then another. I didn't feel like celebrating, but I also didn't feel like sitting in the dark. Sarah never came out of the bedroom. Not for cake, not for food, not for me. At 8:22, the doorbell rang. A few friends had shown up, people from our old social circle. The ones who still believed in being polite, even if the smiles were strained. A couple brought wine. One guy, Trevor, brought beer and cheap whiskey. I didn't mind the noise. It gave the evening something to stand on. Sarah emerged around 9:00, red lipstick, dressed too short for the weather. Her heels made sharp, deliberate clicks as she entered the living room, laughing louder than anyone had spoken so far. She didn't even look at me, just poured herself a drink and dropped onto the couch beside Trevor like she'd known him forever. He was a mutual friend, one of those floaters always invited, never essential, the kind of guy who stayed too long at parties and complimented everyone's shoes like it meant something. I watched them. Sarah kept leaning in to whisper, her hand brushing his arm, then his knee. Trevor didn't look uncomfortable. He looked like a man winning a dare. I stayed calm, smiled when people spoke to me, thanked them for coming, pretended I didn't notice Sarah deliberately avoiding my eyes the entire time. At 10:47, most of the guests had gone. A couple of stragglers lingered on the porch. The house smelled like cheap bourbon and lemon candles. I gathered some plates, moved into the kitchen, and tried to pretend it was just another quiet night. That's when I noticed the journal Monica gave me was missing from the table. I walked down the hallway. The bedroom door was slightly open. I stepped inside. There they were, Sarah and Trevor. Her legs wrapped loosely around him, lips locked on his like the last hours hadn't happened. Her dress was hitched up. His hands were exactly where they shouldn't have been. They didn't see me at first. But when Sarah opened her eyes, she froze, James. She gasped, voice already slurring. I didn't shout. I didn't even blink. I walked across the room, grabbed Trevor by the collar, and pulled him up like dead weight. "Hey, man," he stammered. I didn't speak. Just dragged him through the hallway, his shoes scuffing against the floor. Sarah stumbled after us, shouting, "James, stop." It wasn't. I opened the front door, stepped outside, and shoved him hard onto the lawn. Trevor landed in the grass with a grunt. "You're lucky I didn't do worse," I said, voice ice cold. He scrambled up, arms raised, slurring. It wasn't all her. I slammed the door before he could finish. Sarah stood barefoot in the doorway behind me, breathing heavy. "You didn't have to do that," she shouted. I turned slowly. "I told you if that night ever happened again, it was over." Her face dropped. "You think this means anything? I was drunk." "No. I cut in. You were deliberate." I pointed toward the hallway. "Get out, Sarah. You made your choice. Go live with it." She didn't move at first, so I walked past her, opened the door, and stood there. She stared at me, wild-eyed, mascara smudged, anger mixing with panic, and for the first time, I didn't feel heartbreak. I felt relief. She grabbed her purse, swearing under her breath, and stormed out. I shut the door behind her and locked it. Her fists pounded the wood. Her voice rose. "Let me in, James. You can't just lock me out." But I didn't answer. I picked up Monica's journal from the hallway floor, set it back on the table, and sat down in silence. Outside, Sarah kept banging, but the house finally felt still, and this time I let it stay that way. The last of the voices faded with the sound of retreating tires. Empty bottles lined the counter. The leftover cake sat barely touched, plastic wrap sagging over the top like a shroud. It was nearly midnight. I sat on the living room couch in silence, listening to nothing but the faint hum of the fridge and the distant sound of Sarah's car peeling down the street a half-hour earlier. I hadn't moved much since I locked the door, and then Monica appeared from the hallway. She must have stayed behind when I wasn't looking. Her steps were quiet, her eyes said everything. She didn't ask what happened. She didn't need to. She sat down next to me, slow, careful, like she knew I was made of thin glass. After a long pause, she finally whispered, I was wrong about her. I looked at her but didn't speak. I kept thinking she'd snap out of it, that the girl I knew would show up if I gave her enough excuses, enough time. Monica's voice was lower now, but I was just helping her waste yours. I let out a long breath. You meant well. She looked down at her hands. I don't think that's enough anymore. It's okay. It's not. Another moment passed. The quiet didn't feel heavy this time. Just honest, you didn't deserve tonight, she said. No. I replied softly, but I think I needed it. She looked over, surprised. You're not angry. I was for a long time, but now. I shook my head. Now I just feel done. Monica nodded. You tried too hard, maybe. She gave a sad smile. You loved her in every way she couldn't understand. That one hit a little too close. I didn't reply. She placed a gentle hand on mine, not romantic, just real. You deserve more than being someone's lesson. My throat tightened. I looked at her and managed a small nod. Thank you for saying that. I should have said it sooner. We sat there, the two of us, in the quiet wreckage of a birthday that never stood a chance. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I had to fix anything. I didn't feel responsible for anyone else's damage. Just tired but free, and in that silence, something shifted, not a dramatic break, no fireworks, just a soft, undeniable truth settling between us. It was over, and I could breathe again. It was a rainy Thursday, the kind of rain that taps softly against windows like it's trying to remind you of something you almost forgot. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my tie, navy blue, the same one I wore to our wedding. Back then it meant promise. Now it meant closure. Today was the day. I glanced toward the living room where Monica sat, legs crossed, quiet and steady as always. She offered me a small smile. We hadn't put a label on anything, not yet, but something had shifted between us, something patient, honest. Then came the knock, slow, hesitant. I opened the door. Sarah stood there, soaked from the rain, her eyeliner smudged, hair sticking to her cheeks. She looked like someone who'd finally run out of denial. James, she breathed. I didn't say anything, just waited. I didn't come to fight, she said, voice cracking. I made mistakes, so many, and I was drunk that night. I didn't mean for it to happen. I didn't mean to hurt you. You did, I said. Not cruel, just the truth. I know, she whispered, eyes welling up. But can't we try again, please? We were good once, weren't we? Before everything got messy. She reached out, but I didn't move. Behind me, I felt Monica step forward. Her presence was quiet but unmistakable. She gently placed a hand on my arm, then leaned in and kissed my cheek. Sarah's eyes snapped to her, the moment freezing in place. Monica looked at her, calm and unshaken. His heart's taken now, she said softly, and with those 4 words, Sarah's expression shattered. Her lips parted, but no sound came. Just the sound of rain behind her and something breaking inside. I didn't say anything else. I didn't need to. Sarah finally nodded once. Then she stepped back, pulled her coat tighter, and walked into the rain. I closed the door. Monica didn't say anything. She didn't have to, because in that moment I felt something I hadn't in a long time. Peace. Not because I had won anything, but because I had finally let go of something that never wanted to be held. Epilogue. Looking back, I still think about what Monica did at that barbecue. The way she baited Sarah just to wake her up. Was it loyalty or manipulation? Maybe it was both. Maybe it was neither. What I know now is this: some people will only see your value when someone else does. And by then, it's often too late. Sarah taught me that love without effort is just a word, that trying only matters when both people are holding the same rope. Monica taught me that sometimes the person who shows up is more important than the person who is supposed to. And I taught myself that closure doesn't always come with grand gestures or final arguments. Sometimes it's just a quiet door closing, a lock clicking into place, a breath you didn't know you were holding, finally released. The rain kept falling that Thursday. But inside, for the first time in a long time, everything felt clear. The end